We've just pulled up to the homeowner's property, and Jeff's just getting out of his vehicle. The first thing Jeff's going to do when he gets out of his vehicle is he's going to verify the address of the home, make sure he's at the right house. Next, he's going to be putting on all his equipment that he's going to be using for this inspection. And then he's going to grab his ladder, and then he's going to bring all those things up to the front door when he rings the doorbell to greet with the customer. The reason why we do this is, and we do this one time from the truck to the house, is it's more efficient. Anytime you can be more efficient in any part of this process allows you to gain enough time that you can add one more claim in.
Mrs. Thomas.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Jeff Blain with Eberl Claim Service.
Nice to meet you. Come on in.
Perfect. We spoke on the phone the other day.
Yes.
Great, great. Oh, I see you got a nice little dog here.
Yes, yes.
Not so little, huh?
No, Layla's a big girl.
She's a sweetheart. If you don't mind, I'd like to maybe have you just kind of set her aside so she's not in the way. I don't want to stress her out too much. I'm going to run my tape measure and kind of making some weird noises, so I don't want to stress her out if you don't mind.
I appreciate that. No problem. Layla, go to your spot.
Well, thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, we like to make sure we don't stress them out a little bit.
Thanks.
When we spoke on the phone, you had mentioned you had some interior water damage.
Yes, sir. There's a spot over there.
Yes, I can see that. I'd like to take a closer look at that. Have you noticed any other damages in the house?
No, I haven't really noticed anything else.
If you don't mind, what I'll do is I'll definitely take a look at the water damage you have here and just kind of move throughout the rest of your home and make sure that we don't have any additional damage somewhere else that you haven't seen yet. Okay. Once I'm done with all that, then I'm going to go outside and I'll address that roof damage that you guys had mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll get up. I'll definitely take a look at that. I'm going to walk around the elevations first, and then I'll end up on the roof. And then when I'm done, I'll come down and I'll go over all that with you. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. Thanks.
Perfect. Did you have any questions for me right now? Or?
No, nothing right now.
Okay, we'll discuss it when I'm done with my inspection then.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And so we're off with the inspection of the home. The first thing Jeff's going to do is take an overall photograph of the room. The next thing we're going to do is inspect from top to bottom. He starts that by looking at the top, ceiling, down the walls, to the baseboards, to the floor. He does that on every room. He does that the same way every time. Once he finds damage, he's going to go ahead and photograph that damage, and then he's going to go ahead and he's going to measure the room so he can place it in his scope notes. Jeff always takes a height measurement when he's measuring interiors because Jeff knows that's one of the most missed measurements by all adjusters. Note this window to Jeff's left. The only damages Jeff found were to the ceiling, so he doesn't need to measure that window because he's not painting the walls. However, if he had damage on those walls and he had to paint them, he would need to go ahead and measure that large window so he could take that square footage out of the paint of the walls. When we start our inspection, the very first thing we do is we take a wrist photo, typically the front elevation photo. That should always be your first photograph on your camera roll. Jeff's starting his exterior inspection right now, and Jeff likes to start with the front elevation. He could just as easily start with the right elevation, but you want to start whichever one you start with, that's the one you do every claim with. When you get down your process and you do it the same way each time, you're much less likely to miss any damages. He starts off his inspection by going one time. He slowly proceeds around the house. He looks from top to bottom. He'll go ahead and look at different susceptible metals and pieces that typically get hail damage. You look at them from different angles, and he'll try to see if he can find any hail damage. Then as he continually walks around the house, in this case counterclockwise, he'll also look at personal property as he comes across it. You know, bird feeders, deck chairs, anything like that. Please pay special attention to these garage doors. Especially if they're aluminum, they're highly susceptible to hail. They're also highly susceptible to a lot of other than hail damage. So you'll need to look at all the damages or lack of damage very closely. I suggest that if you have a bright flashlight, you take it with you, you use that. Please pay special attention to any embossed sections that emulate panes, and look especially on the lower sides. If you've got damage that is only at the level of a bumper of a car, take close looks and see if you've got any transfer of rubber from a bumper or transfer of paint from a bumper to rule out other than hail damage. Jeff's starting the right elevation. When you move from one elevation to the next, the very first thing you do is you take that overall elevation photograph. That way you know when you're reviewing your photos later, the photos that precede that photo are on that elevation. I know it seems pretty clear right now, but if you're looking and labeling those photographs the next day, sometimes it's not, especially if you've done 2 or 3 inspections. And you'll also see that he starts looking high, he goes to low, he pays particular attention to anything that sticks out or has level surfaces that would be more susceptible to hail. As you can see right here on one of the 2 AC units, he's found a few dings in those AC fins. Those can typically be combed out. However, sometimes they can't. So Jeff goes and he takes a photograph of the model number for that AC condenser. That is very helpful if he has to go ahead and write an estimate for an AC condenser later on down the road. As Jeff continues his inspection, we note that there's some dings in the downspout right by the trash receptacles. We take a close look at those, at the damage, and determine that it's other than hail because the edges are sharp. Jeff is starting the rear elevation with his photograph. He's already back in the back corner, so he's going to go ahead and check out the trampoline for wind and hail damage. The frame is susceptible to wind. The pad can be susceptible to hail damage. While he's back there, he's going to go ahead and check out that rear fence run and make sure that it's okay. Looks fine. Then he's going to head back to the house. He'll start at the corner and then work his way down the elevation. At the corner is a storage shed. He'll check the most susceptible parts, the roof, the sides, and then he'll move on to the other susceptible parts of this elevation, which are downspouts, gutters, and windows. Windows can be highly susceptible to hail if it comes from that direction. You want to be sure and check the screens and check the vinyl glaze beading, if there is vinyl glaze beading. If there's aluminum flat surfaces, check those. All of that can be susceptible to hail. It looks like Jeff's found some hail damage. First thing he's going to do is he's going to photograph the entire window. That way, anybody that reviews his claim file can see how big the actual window was. And then he's going to go ahead and take a close-up of the damage, and then he's going to go ahead and measure to make sure that he's got the correct measurements for his estimate. Jeff's found some damages to this barbecue grill. He's going to go ahead and photograph the damages, and he's going to photograph the model number down low on that leg. What that does is that helps him identify that barbecue grill or one very similar to it so that he compensates the insured for the right amount. Exterior doors are always susceptible to hail. He's found some damage on the exterior door. This one can just be repainted. He's gone ahead and marked that down. And then when he moved on to the large window bank, he noted similar damage to these windows that were on the other windows. He's going to go ahead and document that and measure that also. These large outdoor umbrellas, they're very susceptible to wind damage. That's why Jeff's checking it out so close. And almost every hailstorm is accompanied by a small windstorm. Jeff's starting his left elevation inspection. First thing he notes is this left run of fencing is highly wind damaged. He's going to need to get that length measurement for his estimate for the fencing, but he also needs that height measurement for the stained. This property has several gates that Jeff's had to go through. You want to be sure and always leave these gates exactly as you found them. He knows this property has a dog, and the last thing Jeff wants is a call 2 hours later that that dog's missing because he left a gate open, because then he'll probably be driving back to help look for that dog. When Jeff's doing his inspection, you'll notice he always continually looks at everything at an angle, and he changes that angle. He also puts his clipboard up when the sun's in his eyes. He's doing this so he can be sure and get every piece of property that's been hail damaged on his estimate. He doesn't want to go back out there with a contractor because he's missed items. This little run of fence between the house and the left run is not wind damage, but he has noted that it has stain and the stain is damaged. That's why it's going in the estimate. And with this documented damage on the last downspout, he continues on with his inspection.